Donald Trump regularly paid money to force me to redact it with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. Guess what? He's in the files. We have a pedophile president. I'll say it again, we have a pedophile president. I'm not saying allegedly, because I don't have to say allegedly. The president of the United States is a pedophile and a rapist. These are things that if the president of the United States would like to argue against, then he has every ability to try to argue with this video. Now, obviously, I am a small YouTuber, and the president of the United States is not going to be doing that, but I feel like I'm able to just kind of make those claims now because we have evidence. Before we get into stuff, though, I do need to very quickly plug something. If you have not already checked out the fundraiser for Fleur, my friend Walker, their house burned down right before Christmas, and they need a lot of help to get back up on their feet. We've gotten 22% of the way towards replacing damn near everything except the house itself, so that's already a lot of work towards there. Thank you all so much for the work you've put in so far. Hopefully we can reach the end of that particular goal. Links will be in the description below, and that said, if you haven't met me before, my name is Suris. Yeah, I know I'm introducing myself after asking you to donate money to a fundraiser. I apologize for that, but my shtick is trying to cover politics in a somewhat fair way, where I'll also try to make politics a lot less miserable for you to engage with. If that's something that you find worthwhile, then please consider subscribing to my channel and telling a couple friends what I'm doing over here. And we've got a couple of things to cover because we've just had so much. The Epstein files got released kind of, sort of, in a heavily redacted form that I've already clowned on the Department of Justice for doing that, but let's go over a couple of bits of evidence that have come out since then. So, one, apparently Trump traveled on Epstein's plane a lot more than we originally thought. Does note here that Trump's name on the flight record does not indicate wrongdoing. But since in 2024, Trump tried to say that he was never on Epstein's plane, and yet we have evidence that he's been on the plane not only a lot, but more than was originally claimed before. Not just... All right, ignoring that I'm going to be doing the rest of this video in pain now. Ow, God, biting your tongue sucks. Ooh, tongue biting. Oh, dear God, please get out. My day is improved without you in it. But anyway, it's wild to me that the president has to go from, I've never been on the plane, to, I've been on the plane, but not a whole lot, to, well, actually, the flight records say that I was on the plane quite a lot. Make of that what you will, everybody. The Department of Justice is currently trying to argue that there's a bunch of untrue and sensationalist claims about Trump in the files, which, you know, that may actually be true. We may be living in a world where there are sensationalist claims in the Epstein files. We can also be living in the world where alongside those sensationalist claims are true claims. But there is another claim that's gonna have to be walked back after a lot of these files have been released, and that is, well, the idea that he was never on the island and does not share any of Epstein's propensities. So we have this lovely letter here, which is written in Scratch that makes me feel like Epstein might have actually been a doctor. But thankfully, Midas Touch has actually transcribed it, thank Fark. Dear LN, as you know by now, I have taken the short route home. Good luck. We shared one thing, our love and caring for young ladies at the hope they'd reach their full potential. Our president shares our love of young, nubile girls. When a young beauty walked by, he loved to grab snatch, whereas we ended up snatching grub in the mess halls of the system. Life is unfair. Yours, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this letter has some controversy around it as well. Adam Cochran actually did a deep dive into all the reasons why he believes this letter is fake. claiming in a 25-post thread that I think the DOJ may have accidentally exposed a huge cover-up. After research, I believe this letter is fake. Initially, I thought his lawyer wrote it for him, but now my personal theory is that this was planted by Bill Barr to cover up Epstein's death. I kind of want to see why he believes that before I get to the meat that was thrown on the table for people who really want pedophiles and child predators to be held accountable for their actions. His thread, which I think you should check out, goes over inconsistencies in postmarking, in the way that the stamp is used, the locations that the letter was supposed to be going to, the timings of everything, and even an entire analysis during the latter half of the thread about the penmanship that was used in the letter and how this very, very much looks like Bill Barr's writing. Concluding that if this theory that Bill Barr is the one who actually made this, with Bill Barr being the attorney general who was actively in charge of the Epstein case at the time of his death, which would ultimately mean that Bill Barr was part of a cover-up to hide details about Epstein's death by writing a fake letter that he knew would ultimately be found. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm not an expert here, and all I can do here is report the things that I've found, or, more accurately, things that I have found combined with things that my amazing editor has also sent to me so that I can review them. But the thing that I really want to get into, the actual bombshell that has released, is a redacted document that has the case ID 50D/NY/3027571 from the date and time 08/03/2020 at 6 o'clock p.m. Now, the reason I'm giving you all that information is so that you can look this up yourself in the registry. I tried just looking up the case ID, and a bunch of documents are in there, so finding the one that was received at this time will let you look at the document yourself. This showed a follow-up tip that was submitted to the FBI about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to go ahead and read this for you, but I just need you to understand I've got to put a trigger warning here because this is going to be about sexual assault, among other things. I previously provided a tip about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, under an alias I have for myself, redacted. All the other details of the previous tip match all the information given in today's tip, except I am giving my real name. A detective from the New York Police Department FBI sex trafficking force called me a couple weeks ago from a 212 area code number. I talked to him for about 20 or 30 minutes about my being sex trafficked by my uncle and Jeffrey Epstein in 1984 while I was 13 and pregnant. I told him some other important information about other high-profile individuals involved in my sex trafficking and the murder and disposal of my newborn daughter, because I gave birth to her while in the middle of this sex trafficking ordeal. I cannot remember the detective's name, nor do I have a number where I can contact him. I would like to have his name and contact information. I would also like to know if there will be any further follow-up. Additional info. I am just wanting to reconnect with the original detective that called me, and I offered information about this. How is contact known? He was orchestrating a deal, along with my uncle, where different men and a few women and girls would come to a variety of boats and yachts and pay money to force me to do redacted with them when I was 13 and pregnant. Following up from this, we have additional info. Again, just trying to find out the New York Police Department detective on the FBI sex trafficking task force that called me a couple weeks ago and spoke to me about some of these issues. How is Donald Trump, the contact known? Donald Trump regularly paid money to force me to redacted with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. Now, I don't think I have to tell you guys how horrifying that is. We already know that Donald Trump is a rapist, and give me just a second on that one. For that, we only need to look at the rape of E. Jean Carroll by, yes, Donald J. Trump, where the judge clarified, yes, Donald Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. After Donald Trump was found liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll, his legal team and defenders lodged a frequent talking point. Despite Carroll's claims that Trump had raped her, they noted the jury stopped short of saying he committed that particular offense. Instead, jurors opted for the second option, sexual abuse. And then, well, there's a quote here going, "This was a rape claim, this was a rape case all along, and the jury rejected that and made other findings," said his lawyer, Joe Tacopina. Now, a judge has now clarified that this is a legal distinction without any real-world difference. He says that what the jury found Trump did was in fact rape as commonly understood. To quote further, the finding that Miss Carroll failed to prove that she was, quote, raped within the meaning of the New York penal law does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her as many people commonly understand the word. Indeed, as the evidence at trial recounted below makes clear, Donald Trump did exactly that, and, that would be rape. Kaplan then said that New York's legal definition of rape is far narrower than the word is understood in common parlance. So, for instance, in the New York law terminology, rape is the forcible, unconsented to penetration with a penis. But let me ask you a question real quick. If you are a parent and you have a daughter and your daughter is forcibly penetrated by anything other than the penis by another individual, would you then claim that that individual raped your daughter? I would argue you should claim that, and you should try to do everything in your power to punish the person who did in fact rape your daughter. And if you choose not to do that, then you are, in my estimation, an unfit parent. To say that it's not rape if it's not the penis and ignore the use of literally any object that could be forced into a person, fingers, tongues, anything else, is to be so obsessed with the idea of being technically correct that you've actively discarded your humanity in doing so. Make no mistake, with the E. Jean Carroll case, yes, Donald Trump raped her. He is a rapist. That is a word that you can use to accurately describe him and his character. So the idea that a document has popped up in the Epstein files that says in no uncertain terms that Donald Trump participated in regularly paying money to force a 13-year-old mother effectively, because, she had a kid and then her uncle killed it, to do things with the 13-year-old kid, and then Donald Trump was present while the uncle murdered the newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. None of that seems beyond the pale. Once you are okay with removing the autonomy and destroying a person's psyche for the entirety of their goddamn lives, when you are okay with being an eternal scar on another person, the idea that you might go and do similar acts later or might have done similar acts prior to, none of that is beyond the pale for me. All of that seems perfectly reasonable. If I think that you are a person who would engage in rape, there is nothing to stop me from thinking that you might engage in further rape. So between the idea that we have Donald Trump lying about how many times he's gone to the island, starting at 0 and ending at some fucking number that was lower than the actual number we ended up getting, multiple women saying that he in fact raped them, multiple women claiming that this happened when they were children, a court of law determining that he was in fact a rapist. When we get information about Epstein saying that Trump was one of his closest friends and that Trump first slept with Melania on the Lolita Express, all of this makes perfect sense, especially because we already knew that this was the content of Trump's character.
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the do anything.
The president that brags about grabbing women by the pussy and using legal loopholes so that he's able to do these things as a star, who A court of law determined is in fact a rapist and raped E. Jean Carroll, and who the Epstein files are showing was a far closer friend to Jeffrey Epstein than he claimed, went to the islands far many more times than he claimed, used the plane many more times than he claimed, and has claims from a then 13-year-old girl who had to watch Donald Trump do terrible things to not only her, but watch her uncle kill her fucking baby while our now president of the United States watched. I just want you to think of how terrifying it is to be a person who has had to deal with that and is watching who is running our country right now. There's only one thing that can possibly come from this, and that is an impeachment and throwing out Donald Trump. If that does not happen, then I will honestly say that we as a nation, as an experiment, have been an utter fucking disgrace. Democrats going into 2026 need to do everything in their power to capitalize on this. Use this as a platform to show that Trump and the people that support him should not be in office. Get as close to a supermajority in the Senate as humanly possible so that if the House puts forward impeachment proceedings, a supermajority in the Senate can actually take him down. The Democrats have had a supermajority before in the Senate. It's not an impossibility. All it takes is people being willing to look at this and say, that's enough of a reason for them to start participating in democracy. That's all it fucking takes here. A system that is rigged against us is rigged against us solely because the system can fucking work against them. You don't get politicians trying to curb voter turnout if they aren't scared of what happens when they get voted the fuck out. There are other tools at our disposal besides voting, but god damn it, voting's the bare minimum, and if you're not even willing to do that, at least occasionally, then I'm sorry, I do not value your opinion on politics in any way, shape, or form. Get up off your ass, go out and vote when the midterms come around. If you've got a special election for anything local or in the Senate, then if you've got time, just go fucking do it. And in the description below, there's actually going to be a link to the local DSA chapter in your area that you can join if you would like to have a more direct hand in shaping politics from the ground up. We need a holistic approach to all of this because we have a rapist in the White House and we need him the fuck gone. Thank you for watching. I will give you guys updates as I find them in regards to the Epstein stuff. Let me know what y'all think. Hope y'all had a very Merry Christmas. And as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.